All right, so to get started this evening, we're gonna start on our backs and we'll need a bolster or a pillow. And we're just gonna come into just a gentle heart opener on our backs here. So sitting down, legs come down long the length of the mat. Hi, buddy. You can let your dog sit in your lap, maybe. Nestle up your pillow toward the end of the back. You pretty much want the length of the spine to be supported. It's okay if your head kind of drips over, or if you have a pillow that's long enough to allow the head to rest on the pillow, that's perfectly fine too. If you have two dogs, you can let them both sit on you, and then allow the arms to come out wide tonight. So the kind of out to the side like a T, and letting the palms come up. Thank you, buddy. I love you too. Try to settle in here. Let's take a cleansing breath together. So releasing any air that's currently in the lungs. And then let's take a deep breath in, fill up the lungs. Open mouth, let go. Let's take two more cleansing breaths like that. Big, deep inhale, fill up the lungs. Open mouth, exhale, let it go. We'll do that one more time. Deep inhale, fill up the lungs. Hold it at the top. Open mouth, exhale, let that shit go. Maybe close the eyes here. And just start to settle into this moment onto the mat. So I often say that, the hardest part of our practice is just showing up in this moment right now for you. With the chaos of the world, the expectations and demands that we have put on us in our daily lives by ourselves and externally too. But I think it's exceptional that each of you made time for yourself this evening. And as you settle here, I'd like you to draw your attention to the space of the heart. And so to get there, let's start with the ends of the fingertips. So imagine on each side of your hands, within each hand, kind of just draw your attention, starting to kind of walk your attention inward, up your arms, into the chest, and then resting over the heart space. I'm just noticing kind of this, your heart is slightly lifted, it's exalted toward the earth, toward the sky. I'm just noticing the opening in the heart here. And this week, I've really been playing around with this idea of playfulness. In my classes, I've really been theming all my classes around this idea of playfulness, and even in my own life, and just kind of exploring this idea of playfulness, especially in kind of the state of the world right now, where everything just feels heavy and is very serious. And how, this idea of inviting in more playfulness in our lives. And so with your heart lifted here, I'd like you to imagine that your heart is an open flower. Maybe it's an open lotus, or maybe it's a little cherry blossom, or maybe it's a rose, but just imagining, the petals are open and the center of your heart is the center of this flower. And if I could magically violate this virtual space and come into each of your homes and stand in front of each of you, and imagine I have in my hand a dropper, a little eyedropper filled with a liquid gold. And I begin to drop this liquid gold into the center of your flower. And this liquid gold is infused with a spirit of playfulness. And I've come back to my virtual space on my side. You're back in your space, in your home, on your mats. And imagine now your flower, that flower of the heart, closing to encase that playfulness, to embrace it, to hold it in. And as that heart beats in your chest, that golden liquid begins to infuse your body. It begins to pulse and circulate into your bloodstream, coming into your chest, your torso, your limbs, arms and legs, your feet, your hands, up your neck, into your head. This playfulness has now been completely circulated into your body. Let's take a couple more moments to envision that playful energy circulating. And then we're going to bend the knees, plant the feet about hips distance apart. And if it feels okay on the spine and on the body, you can stay on your pillow. If you'd like to move your prop, we're going to come into a gentle twist. If you'd like to move your prop, you can remove that from your back, or you can stay with the prop if that feels good. But arms are still out to the side like a T. Take an inhale, and then on your exhale, allow your legs to fall over to the left, coming into a gentle, easy twist for the right side of the body. And breathing.
Let's see how does that burn? Oh, okay.
And then inhale, bring the knees back to center. And then with the arms out to the side like a T. On your exhale, allow the knees to fall over to the right. Guiding your attention, guiding the breath to the left side of the body here. I don't know if you guys can hear Bruiser's gentle little snorts, but he's sending you his playful love. And then with the knees fallen over to the right, you're actually going to come all the way over onto your right side and maybe allow your head to rest and kind of be cradled in your right arm. So we're coming all the way over onto the side. So if you were still on your props, you can kind of just move the props out of the way and just pause on your side here. So we've spent some time on our backs and just noticing now how the back space of the heart feels. How the back feels, how this open space now feels on the back side of the body. And then when you're ready, you're going to gently push yourself up very slowly. Coming up, and we're actually going to meet in a child's pose. So let's do a wide-legged child's pose. So allowing the knees to come out wide, big toes touch, Sinking the hips back, resting the feet onto the knee, or the hips onto the feet, and then folding forward, allowing the torso to drape down between the thighs and your arms extended out long in front of you. Forehead dripping down toward the earth, maybe resting on your mat. And then again, just drawing your attention to now the backspace of the heart and how this feels here. And so when we started with that heart opening position, sometimes heart openers can be very energizing, but sometimes they can be exhausting. If you imagine this idea of offering up the heart, offering up your heart to the world, it's a lot of work. So maybe noticing from this position, the heart feeling more protected. Our soft, tender side is folded in, and we've got this strong and powerful rib cage protecting the backspace of the heart. And then take an inhale. And then on your exhale, you're going to walk your hands over off of the left side of the mat, coming into this side stretch. And then you can keep your hands reaching out to the side, or maybe taking the left hand and bringing it down behind you, kind of on the outside of the left foot. And maybe use that to push you a little bit deeper into the stretch. Still allowing the forehead to reach down toward the earth. And noticing if that right shoulder is hugging up toward the right ear, and see if maybe you can slide the shoulder blade back down the back. And then maybe sink a little deeper into that right hip. And breathing. Being curious about your body. We're all sized and shaped differently, which means that in our asana practice, our physical practice of yoga and practicing these poses, the shapes that we each make are going to look different. No two shapes look alike. And so being curious about the sensations and experiences that are happening in your body. And how they feel tonight. If you walked that left hand behind you, allow it to come back up to meet the right, and then walking the hands back to center and just pausing. Noticing maybe how the right shoulder feels, how the right side body feels, and how that might compare to the left side. And then on your next inhale, walking everything over to the right-hand side of the mat. And then taking that same option, allowing the right hand to come down on kind of the outside of the right foot. Allowing the forehead to drip down toward the earth. And then just checking in with that left arm, noticing if the left shoulder is kind of hugging up toward the ear, and see if you can just slide, plug that arm bone back into the shoulder socket, allowing the shoulder blade to slide down the back. And then maybe leaning into that left hip. Might be hard to see me if you're looking on camera because of this big sweet boy right here. Thank you, buddy. Breathing. So coming back to this idea that our bodies are all uniquely different is kind of liberating in our practice. I think we often get so caught up in what other people look like and what other people are doing. And what a sense of freedom that is to only have to worry about what's happening in your body in this moment. So staying here and being curious about you. If you took the right arm and had it stretched out, go ahead and walk it back up to meet the left, and then walk everything back over to center and just pause again. Noticing now the left shoulder, the left side body, and how it might compare to the right. And then let's go ahead and come up, grab your prop, that that pillow or the bolster. We're gonna take it about, I don't know, maybe a third of the way down your mat, a third of the way down from the top of the mat. You can play around with that a little bit. We're actually gonna have that provide some support over our hip points. We're gonna be resting our hips on the bolster or the pillow. So playing around with what feels good, and we're gonna come into Sphinx pose. So this is a really nice supported variation of this pose. I have a lot of tightness in my low back, so this provides some really great just support and allowing me to lift more in the upper back. So in our Sphinx pose, shoulders are stacked over elbows and hands on the forearms are planted and pressing firmly into the mat. And then feet, you can play around with the width of the feet. So maybe you have your feet touching and pressing down into the mat, or maybe play with like widening your stance with your feet. Maybe your legs come out straight out like your sit bones, like if you were going to be just standing in a mountain pose. So playing around with that variation, or maybe even wider, maybe even coming into the width of the mat. And then lifting out of the shoulders, and then really plant those hands firmly into the mat and kind of create maybe like, I like to think of it like a scrubbing. Like if I were to come over and press your hands into the mat and you were going to try and pull them away from me, you're going to pull them into your body, but your hands aren't moving. So there's still a lot of pressure pressing the hands into the mat, and then the hands are scrubbing back toward your body. And then inhale, reach the heart forward. So there's this nice bend in the upper part of the back, and you're lifting out of the shoulders. Shoulder blades are sliding down toward the back. So again, this helps us activate this upper portion of the back. And this bolster or the pillow is providing support in the low back for us. So we can really get into the thoracic spine and opening up our heart here. Reaching the heart forward, pulling the heart forward, still pressing and still pulling. Keeping this strong and active. And breathing. Imagine that your neck and your head is one long extension of the spine. And so the crown of the head, the tip top of the head is reaching up toward the sky. Just breathe here. Sphinx pose. Such a wonderful, powerful pose. Thinking strong and proud here. And again, just noticing what's happening in your body. So noticing what's coming up for you. Where do you feel this pose? And being curious about that. And then very gently lowering all the way down onto the mat. Now it might feel good to stay on your prop, or if you want to move the prop out of the way from underneath you, you can kind of shimmy up, roll over, and scoot your prop out. Whatever feels good, but play with both. See what you like. And then we're coming into this gator pose. So just allowing the palms to stack, elbows come out to the sides of the mat, and then resting the forehead onto the mat. You can even stack forearms and rest your forehead onto the forearms. Breathing here. Should feel like a nice release on the low back. And then just noticing again that back space of the heart. How does that feel? And then with the chest resting on the earth, noticing the front space of the heart and how that feels. Let's bend the knees here, and we're just going to tick-tock the feet from side to side. Just breathing, just moving, just being playful. Maybe it would sound good to kind of flop the legs a little bit like a kid, maybe in a playful way, just kind of flopping. I kind of picture a 9-year-old Lisa sitting on the carpet of her home with a book in hand and just flip-flopping her feet. So maybe that was you, maybe playing a board game or coloring book. Maybe take yourself to the 9-year-old version of you and just flip-flop these feet from side to side. And then find some stillness. Release the legs back down long, the length of the mat. And then we're going to draw the hands down by the low ribs. Untuck the toes, making sure that the tops of the feet are pressing into the mat. And we're going to do some lifts and lowers in and out of cobra pose. So you're facing down toward the mat, forehead may be resting on the mat, or you're just facing down toward the mat. Start to draw in, so your hands are down by your low ribs, and you're going to pull in the elbows toward one another. Okay, press into the tops of the feet, and then inhale, lift up, reaching the heart forward. And again, find that sliding of the shoulder blades down the back to help you reach that heart forward. And then exhale, lower back down onto the mat, and pause, let everything go. And then come back into position, allowing the hands to rest down by the low ribs, tops of the feet pressing into the earth, and then sliding the shoulder blades back, pulling the elbows in. Inhale, reach the heart forward. Exhale, release down to the mat. Inhale, lift back up. So really see if you can find this lift. Exhale, come back down. So using your breath coming in and out. So inhales come up, exhales come down, and really see if you can find a lift coming from the upper part of the back. We're opening the heart. So you're going to be using the low back to stabilize, but we already have a really nice arch in our low back. So we don't really need to do a lot with our low back here. We're really using the upper part of our back and then the strengths of our shoulders to reach and pull back. Let's say one more round. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, coming back down, stacking palms, allow the forehead to rest onto the palms, onto your palms. And bend those knees and let's tick-tock again. So very playfully. And let that go, pause. And scan the body and just check in here. How are you feeling? With this sense of curiosity, how are you feeling in the body? And when you're ready in your own time, we're going to meet in that child's pose again. So you can keep it a wide leg child's pose if you like that variation, or if you would like to get a little bit more into rounding the back, you can bring the knees together, allowing the belly to rest on top of the torso, or maybe even tucking the toes and allowing the forehead to come down toward the earth. This is a really nice option for releasing the low back and really getting into the spine. And then when you're ready, slowly rise up. We're going to meet in a seat. We're going to come into a forward fold. And this might again be helpful to use your prop. So if you have a bolster or that pillow, and if you want to sit on the edge of the pillow, we're going to come into a forward fold. And so it might be nice. So our pelvis naturally tends to kind of tilt back like this. So it makes it a little bit more challenging to get in the back of the legs, and we end up targeting the back of the spine. So using our prop to kind of take us up, so sitting on the edge of that prop gives us some leverage, gives the pelvis some leverage to tilt forward. And then our legs come out long, our feet are flexed, and toes are pointing toward the earth. So this just lets us get into the backs of the legs a little bit more. But if you want to get into the low back, we'll get that too. But this is a nice variation. All right, so once you get comfortable finding evenness in your sit bones, inhale, reach the arms high. Find length in your spine, reach out through the crown of your head. And we're not going to round the spine here. We're going to hinge forward at the hips, keeping the spine long. And when you hit your first line of resistance, wherever you feel that pulling or that tightness, so maybe that's in the back of the hamstrings, maybe that's in the hips, maybe it's still in the low back, but you're going to pause, holding this. Relax your quadriceps, relax your thighs. Flex the toes, flex the feet. And then on your next exhale, allow the hands to come down to the earth, still keeping the spine long. And if you feel good here, you can stay here, or maybe pull yourself in a little bit deeper, still keeping that spine long. We're not rounding yet. I'll get you there, I promise. Keeping the spine long and pulling forward. And now imagine with your hands planted on the earth here, shoulder blades sliding down the back, pulling the heart forward. Yeah, feel that? Breathing here. And now if this feels good, you can stay here, getting into the backs of the legs. Or if you would like, you can go ahead and round the spine and release the forehead down toward your legs. And so your forehead may or may not reach your toes, your shins, maybe they reach down all the way to your toes. Doesn't matter. Just getting into the back of the spine. Again, remember that all of our shapes are different. No two bodies look the same. And what your body does is what your body does. And then when you're ready, plant the hands back down onto the earth. And then very slowly walking the hands back, assisting the torso back up straight. And then you can keep your prop if you would like. We're going to take a half bound angle or half bound half butterfly, I guess. So you can still stay on your prop. You're going to draw the right foot in toward the groin or allowing it to rest on the inside of the left leg. And then taking the left leg out to the side. Now, it doesn't have to be super wide. If that feels good for you and you can keep evenness in the sit bones, you're welcome to do that. Or you can keep it a little bit closer to center. So just playing around with that. And so we can come in, you can come in and out of this if this feels comfortable. I'll give you time to settle in here. So flexing the left foot, allow the toes to point toward the earth. And again, finding evenness in the sit bones here. So we're not sitting over on one side or the other, keeping evenness in the hips. And then inhale, reach the hands to the sky, grow tall in the spine. And just like we did in our forward fold, we're going to fold forward, hinging forward at the hips, spine is still long, and allow the hands to come down to the earth. Holding ourselves up here. Draw the shoulder blades down the back, keeping that left foot flexed. Finding evenness in the sit bones, and then maybe pulling the heart forward. Breathing. Being curious about your body. Do you ever wake up in the morning and you're like, why am I sore there? Or maybe you're like, oh, I took Lisa's class last night. But that's what we're doing here. It's just being curious. Why do I feel that? What is that? No judgment, just an observation. If you'd like to fold a little bit forward, you can walk your hands out, keeping the option to keep the spine long, or you can round into the spine again. Again, trying to keep evenness in the sit bones. So if you're tilting over to the right, see if you can just draw back into center a little bit. Just a couple more rounds of breath on this side. And then very slowly start to walk the hands back, assisting the torso up straight. And then let's just bend both knees and kind of tick-tock the knees from side to side. Again, experimenting maybe with some playfulness, maybe letting it be kind of sloppy and floppy like you would be if you were a kid. Maybe you're sitting in the grass. Maybe you tilt your head from side to side. And find some stillness, and then we'll switch sides. So drawing the left foot in toward the groin or on the inside of the right leg, and then extending that right leg long. Flex the foot, allow the toes to reach up to the sky. Find evenness in your sit bones here. And then inhale, reach the hands to the sky. Exhale, hinging forward at the hips, keeping the spine long, pausing at your first line of resistance. Allow the hands to come down to the earth. Slide the shoulder blades down the back. Pull that heart forward. Relax the top of the right thigh, your quadriceps there. Imagine that your right quadriceps, the top of your right thigh, is as relaxed as Bruiser is in his slumber right now. Snoring. If you'd like to pull yourself a little bit deeper, walking the hands out, you can either option to keep the spine straight, or if you would like to round it here, you can take that rounded spine. And then just checking in to make sure that you haven't kicked over to the left, and just evening out the hips, making sure that you're still in center, flexing the right foot, pointing those right toes to the sky. Couple more rounds of breath here. And then when you're ready, walking the hands back in, assisting the torso up, and then taking those tick-tocks again. So just planting the feet, bending the knees, hands come behind you. And very playfully, just releasing the knees from side to side, releasing the low back. I'm going to come in, check on time, because this class always gets away from me. So, okay, very good. So let's go ahead and come on to our backs from here, setting aside your props. If you liked that heart opener in the beginning, maybe keep that prop handy and you can take that variation in Shavasana. Coming all the way down onto the back, we're going to draw the knees into the chest and then actually pulling the knees toward the armpits. So they might not actually reach the armpits. You want to keep your low back resting on the earth. So it's more of an energetic movement of the knees toward the armpits, and then flex the feet, And then imagine as though you're stamping the feet onto the ceiling. And then holding on either to the back of the knees, the back of the calves, or maybe you grab onto the outsides of the feet, coming into happy baby. And if you would like to rock your happy baby, maybe coming in from side to side, massaging the low back, maybe even feeling this in your upper back, might feel really good. Or keeping it in stillness. Just pausing here. And then draw the knees back into the chest, plant the feet back down onto the earth. And let's heel toe the feet so your feet are the width of the mat. Walk the feet out to the width of the mat. Arms come out to the side like a T. We're going to take the same easy twist that we did in the beginning of class. So take an inhale, and then on the exhale, allow the knees to fall over to the left. Really feeling the sensation in the right side of the body. So keeping that right shoulder planted on the earth. So if the shoulder is lifting up, see if you can bring it back down. And that just means you might have to bring your legs back up or maybe stack the legs instead of having them staggered. And if your right shoulder is still planted and you would like some additional, stretch and create some additional traction in that right side, you can cross the left ankle on top of the right thigh, and that will create some really nice traction and assist in stretching into that right side of the body. As we come into the last couple of poses of our practice, we've paid a lot of attention and curiosity to the body tonight. And I usually invite you to draw in gratitude for the body, but I think tonight I want to ask you to draw in some gratitude for your mind, for the ability to focus the mind and practice in a mindful way, to allow you to be present and to experience all the beautiful things that happen to you on your mat and in life. If you took that crossing, you can uncross the left ankle and then inhale, bring everything back to center. And then on your next exhale, allowing the legs to fall over to the right. And again, just making sure that that left shoulder is anchored down into the earth. It's not lifting up. Then just pausing here before deciding that you need that additional stretch, so you can maybe cross the right ankle over left thigh, creating that traction there. And then when you're ready, uncross that right ankle. Inhale, bring the knees back to center. Let's come into Apanasana real quick before we come into Shavasana. Draw the knees into the chest, wrap the arms around the shins, and then draw the forehead in toward your knees. And just pause here, breathing, holding everything in tightly, noticing the back space of the heart here. Maybe it's slightly lifted off of the earth, or maybe it's still pressing into the earth, but just noticing that space, and then drawing your attention to the front space of the heart. Let's take one cleansing breath together. Big, deep inhale in, fill up the lungs. Hold it at the top. Open mouth, exhale, let it go. Allow the legs to come down the length of the mat. If you would like to take that bolster or pillow and put it underneath your torso and take Shavasana in a heart opener, or even taking the pillow and placing it underneath the knees, both of those will hopefully feel like lovely variations of Shavasana. So I'll let you get settled. And I know that many of you will drift off in your Shavasana, maybe falling asleep or catching a little nap, but I ask you to actually stay present in the body and enjoy the amazing fruits of your labor that you just put in. And the next time you hear my voice will be to invite you out of Shavasana. Enjoy. If you drifted off, maybe start to invite some awareness back into the body. That might be some gentle movements. That might just be rocking right up to a seat. Or coming onto a side. And if you would like to join me in a seat to finish class, you are welcome to come up. And hands come to heart center. And I just want to invite you to consider one last thought. I know I've put a lot on you guys to explore this playfulness and curiosity and honoring your bodies and honoring the mind and all of that good stuff. But as we talk about this idea of playfulness, looking at, when was it that we stopped being children and we're no longer given permission to just be, to just be playful and run and not have any shame or fear any judgment about what we might look like or what we might sound like. And so maybe just taking a moment to look at that and invite a little more playfulness and a little bit more of that childlike spirit into your lives.
I think this world needs it. It's such an honor to guide this practice and to share yoga with each of you. Such an honor. The light in me sees and honors the light in each of you. Namaste. Mwah.